Thomas Tuchel has been sacked as the Chelsea manager 6 games into the Premier League season. I never saw this coming. I don't think the man himself saw this coming. Absolutely bonkers from Chelsea Football Club. This is a guy who is probably one of the top 5 managers in world football, and they've just got rid of him like that. Or is it as bonkers as we think it is? Seen a lot of fans tweeting and calling into Sport Radio today talking about how shocked and disappointed they are with Chelsea for this decision. But if you look at it in some ways, their performances this season have been dire, have been absolutely ridiculous performances this year. You look at the opening game of the season against Everton. Now we called it out right away and said Chelsea were not on their best form that day, but it is the first game. There's only so much expectation you can have. You could look at their failed transfer window. This transfer window also being the first in the past maybe 20 years since Roman Abramovich hasn't been at the helm. You had Todd Bowley coming in and making decisions and not landing a lot of the targets that Tuchel wanted. He wanted, obviously, Jules Koundé, who went to Barcelona. There was talk of them trying to hijack the Frankie de Jong move that was speculated to be going to Manchester United at the time. Of course, he ended up staying at Barcelona. Absolutely crazy. I'm still very shocked at this. Still very, very shocked. Now, like I said before, for me, Tuchel is one of the top 5 managers in world football. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think everything that he's done at Chelsea has been great. This season, however, hasn't been fantastic for them. They're off the pace. They don't look like they're building any momentum. They obviously had the quite heavy defeat to Leeds, the 3-0 defeat to Leeds, who were last season's relegation fodder, scraping in the Premier League by a single point. Then that was followed up with a very average display against West Ham, which we saw on the weekend. They were very lucky. They were very lucky to come away with all 3 points in that game. Now they currently sit this season in 6th place in the league. So they're 2 points behind Manchester United, who everyone is obviously raving about after their poor start to the season. Chelsea have won 3 of their last 6 games, or of their opening 6 games. And they have drawn 1, lost the other 2. Now those 2 defeats, like I say, we've spoke about the 3-0 to Leeds, and in the fixture before that, they lost against Southampton 2-1. I mean, Southampton are a good team. I like Southampton, but they shouldn't be beating Chelsea. Leeds shouldn't be beating Chelsea. Dynamo Zagreb last night should not be beating Chelsea. Something is going seriously wrong at that club, and as the man at the top, he has got to take that responsibility. However, I do believe Tuchel is the best manager to turn this kind of form around, but he wasn't given that opportunity. A lot of reports also suggesting that he wasn't even going to be in this position regardless of if they won last night. So no matter what happened last night, he was getting sacked today. Some people have pointed out the fact that he has been quite vocal about the ownership and the lack of investment in the squad, or the lack of signings over this transfer window. But you look at who he's brought in. He's brought in Koulibaly at the back. Despite that, they're leaking goals. They had a very good defensive record last year, but this year they've just not been able to maintain that. You also look, they've brought in Aubameyang, who is very much a Thomas Tuchel signing. You know, they worked together at Borussia Dortmund. They had a very good relationship there, and Aubameyang thrived underneath Tuchel's tutelage. And for me, it was a very good signing for Chelsea, obviously losing Lukaku on loan, and it just does not seem right. The transfer window was last Thursday. So just less than a week ago. And Aubameyang didn't really sign for the club until the following Friday. So in less than a week, he's gone from having his main striker signing, the signing that he wanted, to being sacked. And the reports suggest, regardless of today's result or yesterday's result, he would have been sacked. Absolutely insane from Chelsea and from Todd Bowley. It's a signal of intent. It's a real signal of intent from the manager. If I think it's a mistake, and I think it is something that they will look back on and rue. Now, the question has to be, who takes over? Who takes over from Thomas Tuchel with the club in the position that they're in? They've got fantastic players. There seems to be a little lack of balance in the squad. They're not able to play in the way that Tuchel wanted them to play. And who is it that's going to replace him? Who are they going to bring in? Now, the big odds are on Graham Potter from Brighton, who we spoke very highly of earlier in the week. In our last podcast, we said about how good he is, and he deserves that opportunity to really go to a top club. And Chelsea is a top club. And news has broken in the last half an hour that Brighton has accepted the opportunity for Graham Potter to go and speak with that club. Does he go there? Does he take that challenge? If I was him, I think he would. If I was him, I absolutely would take that challenge, and I hope he does too. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for him, and it's something that he definitely deserves. But still, absolutely insane. The other name that is coming up a lot is Mauricio Pochettino. Pochettino has got somewhat of a bad reputation in many ways. He's a manager that I love Pochettino. I was very excited when Manchester United were linked with him. I always wanted Erik ten Hag. I was very vocal in my support for Erik, but if we had to fall back on Mauricio Pochettino, I would be very happy with that as a managerial choice. He's managed at the highest level at PSG. Obviously not necessarily the French league. French division isn't the best, a bit of a farmers league in my opinion. But the reality is he would have been a great candidate for this Chelsea job. But I don't think he's going to get it. I think he's going to go to Graham Potter. But for me, it's the fact that Chelsea have let someone like Tuchel go this early on in the season. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you sign someone like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for the manager that has worked with him before, that has allowed Aubameyang to thrive? Why would you sign that player and then let him go? Now, going back onto the quality of the football this season, I've seen some pundits talk about the high intensity and the absolute brilliance of the Premier League this year. We've seen some fantastic performances. We've seen the likes of Brentford go to Manchester United and absolutely tank them. We've seen Leeds go to Chelsea and tank them. We've seen teams like Aston Villa potentially should have won against Man City the other day, but at least holding them to a draw, the same as Newcastle did against Man City. We've seen teams like Liverpool being really tested this season, even by clubs like Everton, who are very low in the table at the moment and haven't managed to get things ticking. They're still making things difficult for the big top teams. You've got newly promoted teams like Fulham coming up and really putting pressure on, getting that opening day draw against Liverpool. The only team really that you can see any consistency with is, you'd arguably have to say, Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. Manchester United are finding their way now. They've won their last 4 games fairly comfortably, I would argue. But what absolute madness, in my opinion. This is completely my view. This is absolutely insane from Chelsea. This makes no sense to me. Their performances have been dire on the pitch. They have been arguably some of the most it probably has been the most boring team to watch this year. I've seen maybe 3 or 4 Chelsea games this season and I've not been impressed with any of them. Maybe the Tottenham Hotspur game, I thought they were good in that game. But you look at the Everton game at the opening of the season, the Tottenham game was, like I say, they were good in that game. You look at the West Ham game on the weekend, they were so lucky, and West Ham were absolutely robbed in that game. And you just look at them and you think, where are the goals coming from? You know, how long can they maintain a defensive run? Because Koulibaly and Silva at the back, they don't look comfortable this year. And it's difficult, you know, buying new defenders, it is going to take time to integrate. It's the same for any club. But when you look at how defensively Tuchel likes to play, he likes to play out from the back, it just doesn't look right. And I'm really disappointed with Chelsea, but they are the club that do that. That is their operating, that is their MO. That is how they do it. That's modus operandi. That's how they operate as a club. And it's just sad that we've seen someone of Tuchel's ability and Tuchel's know-how just thrown at the wayside. 6 games into a Premier League season. Does that mean that we can now write Chelsea off? Maybe too early to tell. But still, this is insane from Chelsea. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Please keep in touch, and yeah, like and subscribe. Let me know. Thank you for listening to me rant about this. Absolutely crazy day in the Premier League. See you on the next one.